numbers people in the room? Woo! Got a couple, right? Okay, great. We're going to cover market update. Yay. Right? Okay, perfect. So, who thought last year was a better year than the year before? We got a couple, right? It's funny because we got into Q4. Thanks, Jeremy. As we got into Q4, we saw a big slowdown. Anybody feel that in November, December? Like, what the heck just happened? This seems like more than before, right? Seasonality wasn't part of that. But if you guys look at closed units, what this is just closed single-family residences, okay? In 2023, 2024, and 2025 in Sarpy and Douglas County. So there's so many ways to pull market data. You could leave here being like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, but we pull them consistently the same just to see what kind of reactions we're seeing from the market. So in 2023, there were 9,322 single-family homes sold in Douglas and Sarpy County. In 24, 9,461. And then last year, 9,917. So if you look at that, 4.8% increase in total units sold. All right. So there's two sides of each one of these homes, right? So you have a list side and a buy side, which is 18,000, 19,000 transactions for real estate agents. So even though at the end of the year we saw a little bit of a slowdown, there was 5% increase in total homes sold, which is really healthy. That's what we want to continue seeing happen this year. Even if we stay flat or go up a little bit, that's exactly what we're looking to see happen here in those two counties. Okay? Good there? Okay, let's move on. All right, so when we, in our brokerage, what we would talk about consistently, you guys have heard this, especially our agents here, we're moving into a skill-based market. Is anybody kind of feeling that a little bit more, that you have to be a little bit more skilled to be successful in this market? These are the key indicators that help us see that. Over the last 3 to 4 months, we've been really seeing these numbers tick up. Expired listings has went up from 236 last year to 349, which is a 47.88% increase in total expireds last year. That's a very key indicator that people aren't setting what expectations with their sellers the right way, which then you're having those really tough conversations. Did anybody have tough convos last year? Raise your hand. Maybe with 1 or 2 people? All right, now we're starting to learn that skill matters a little bit more than it did the previous 2 years. On our next slide, we were up 27.7% and fell through contracts. This means this home sold, and then we weren't able to keep it together. Did anybody have more than 1 or 2 deals fall apart last year? Common, right? And then, what does it take? It takes skilled agents. You have to set expectations with your buyers and sellers, but then you have to have a really good relationship with the other agent on the other side. It takes 2 to tango, right? So in order to keep deals together, skill set's really going to matter in the 26th year that we're going into, which is why we're doing these events. We want to hear from the top performers that, I'm sure you guys have had deals fall apart too, right? What did we experience? Why did that happen? What can we get better at? And what can we take from here so that we leave, we go out into the market, and we present ourselves in a much more professional manner, okay? Move on to our next slide. Okay, I'm not going to go over all this because this is a lot of numbers. This was numbers pulled at the end of December. So I pulled these numbers at the end of each month, and this was the total active homes that were on the market at the end of December. So the beginning of January, we had about 1,651 active single-family residences on the market. Okay, 818 of those were existing, 833 of those were new construction. When you guys see all this up and down, that's just the percentage change from the month before. It's not from last year. So when you see it go down from November to December, that's very common. That's seasonality. But having that big of a decrease is also expired listings went up, fell through contracts went up, canceled went up, everything went up in December, partially because we had a lot of contracts that went till end of year. And so sellers said, hey, it didn't sell, I'm going to take it off and wait till spring. Okay, so we see that pretty common in December, but we did see a lot of movement in that 0 to 400,000 range. So we saw a lot of under contracts. Most of the pendings were in that range in December because we saw those lower price points start to move a little bit, which is a really good indicator for Q1, okay? Now, I'm not going to bore you with all this. Let's go to the next slide. Does anybody know how economists, high level, determine whether it's a buyer or seller's market?
With that formula.
Assumption rate, right? So I'm going to teach this for you guys, very simple. I'll go slow. I'm sure this is very easy for you guys to understand. But what we do is we look at months of inventory. And so we take the total active homes on the market, and then we divide it by how many pendings in the last 30 days to see how long would we have inventory if we kept selling at the rate that we are, okay? So if you go to the next slide, we had 1651, and we had 488 pendings. Can somebody do that math for me?
25.
Katie's doing it in her head, I can tell.
4.
Don't you worry, I got on the next slide. We'll go to that.
3 point something?
There you go, 3.3. So we have 3.3 months of inventory. So why this is important is you guys have buyers and sellers entering the market that think, how many of you guys have heard? It's a buyer's market now. We might have even said that at times. What's actually happened is we've moved from about 3 months of inventory to 3.3, which is a very small variance, but you guys are feeling it because you're in the market on a day-to-day basis. So our job is to manage emotion, understand what the market's actually telling us. If we have between 0 and 4 months of inventory, we're still in a seller's market. We're balanced is between 4 and 6, and then once we get to 6 plus, that's a buyer's market. It's a true buyer's market when we look at historical data. Okay, so we're at about 3.3 right now. We have 2.1 months of existing home inventory, but 8.5 months of new construction. So when you guys are talking to new construction clients, they are going to have much more buying power and much more negotiating power than years past. If that makes sense. And you guys might have started seeing that over the past year or so. All right, is that all kind of making sense, you guys? So when we can go to the next slide. I can go over this quick. You guys probably experienced this. This is just a common graph of what kind of activity we see through the holidays. Beginning of December, still very active. As we get closer to Christmas, what happens? Start meeting with people. We're doing parties. We're not looking at houses as much. And then what happens is the first part of the year happens. People are super excited. How many of you guys have buyers that are like, I'm ready to buy a house this year. Let's look right away. Let's beat the crowd. So you start hearing agents say, Ethan, you've heard this over the years, feels like spring market's already here in January. And what happens is that's just people getting into the market, getting excited, new year, new me. And what happens, just like go to the gym, it starts to wear off around the beginning of February. Everybody blames it on the Super Bowl. I'm not 100% sure why, but they're like, Super Bowl, we can't buy houses. So that first week, the first and second week of February, you're going to see a little bit of tick down generally in activity, but right after the Super Bowl, nobody has anything to do because football's gone, so we're back to buying houses, right? It happens every year. It's our job to let people know what's happening, right? So when we're reactive, that's when you hear agents be like, I can't believe this is happening right now. Well, if you've been through this before, no, this is the same thing that happened last year. Let's be prepared for it. And your skilled agents are going to help people get under contract during this month of January and February. Why? Because they've had the right conversations and they've set expectations. Okay? So I think this is my last market update slide.
Yeah.
So in that first week, that rush of buyers and sellers you saw come to the market, what we're seeing this year, and I've heard this phrase in a way that made so much sense. Buyers have accepted rates. So the last 2 to 3 years they came into the year and mainstream headlines and the Fed and everybody's saying, we're going to drop rates, we're going to drop rates, we're going to drop rates. Everybody's just like, all right, when are they going to do that? Well, just like inflation, when price of eggs or milk or gas goes up, we all get mad. We're like, what the heck's going on? And then we accept it and we move forward. Buyers have now taken 2 years and they've accepted this is what rates are and they're much more educated. So they're coming in saying, I want to prepare. I'm going to come in January. I'm going to learn the market. I'm going to understand it. I'm going to make good decisions as I get to spring. And your sellers now, which is first time in a few years, are the ones that are having a hard time understanding what's happening. They're like, we should sell quick. You know my house is worth $50,000 more. Those are the conversations we're having to start having, which is challenging for listing agents because we haven't had to have them yet. So be prepared for that. Practice, skill set, scripting, all those things really matter in this market. And that's what we're here to talk about today. And that's your market update, folks. All right. My job is done. Bring me the drinks. I'm asking questions. Okay. All right. Next slide. If you guys want to hear any of the conversations I'm about to have with our awesome panelists, they all three took time. You guys, they took time to practice for the questions. I took time to prep for the questions. They all filmed a podcast with me. Can you believe it? Let's hear it for that. Woo! That took a long time. If you guys want to scan any of the QR codes that are on your table or on the screen, you're going to see all of our agent resources at Toast, but also you're going to see links to the actual podcast. Ashley's came out a week ago. Ben dropped yesterday his episode, and Karen's is coming out in 2 weeks. So watch out for those. Listen to the full 45 minutes. I get 20 minutes to come on stage. You guys can hear a 45-minute combo with them. Just go to our podcast. Okay? All right, great. I think I'm done. Okay, great. All right, so let's get into this, you guys. You ready?
Ready.
Wasted enough of your time. We're ready to rock and roll. They're high performers. They're like, let's get going. Come on.
Going to get you back on track.
Yes. Okay. Perfect. All right. So, quick context for the room. How long have you been in real estate, and why'd you get in? Why real estate?
12 years. 2014 is when I got in. I was a school teacher. I had 2 goals: have more time and more resources to do good things for others, and I felt like I could earn more and control my time better, so I could give it away to whoever I chose.
Love it. Great answer.
I have been in, is this working? Hello? Hello?
Are you on now? Are you on?
Now, yeah, I think I'm
Yeah.
on. Okay. Hi, I'm Ashley Cerveny. I have been in the industry since 2015. I went full-time in 2022. And before that, I was in healthcare leadership as a director at CHI Health for about 13 years. So my background is more so in running businesses, operations, systems. And I really got into the business because I think there's a lot of opportunity in real estate, and I didn't want to work for somebody else. I wanted to create a growth path for myself and a growth path for others. So that's what got me into the business.
Love it. Karen?
Hi, my name is Karen Jennings, and I was a physical therapist, and I started in the late '90s, and but I was poor, and my brother had, I basically had lots of school loans and car payments and an apartment, and my brother, who owns the Remax now, he's a broker in Iowa. He said, "You need to get your real estate license." I was like, "I have no idea what I'm doing." He said, "Just get your license. You need to learn this stuff anyway if you ever want to buy a house." So I got my license. Mary Sears over at CBS Home said, "Here's a key." And I said, "I don't know what to do." And she said, "It's okay. Find clients. I'll help you do everything else." I was like, "Okay." So, and I didn't have time to really, I'm self-trained with the help of Mary Sears. I just got a collection of other purchase agreements from Linda Hayton, who was in my office at that time, and I said, "Can I study your purchase agreements and your listing agreements?" So I got about 20 of them, and I went home and I just started reading what she did, and asked her if I could follow her. Needless to say, I've been in the business now. I'm in my 25th year. I passed my real estate exam in 2001, but I really didn't start selling houses till early 2002. But I'm having fun.
You've seen all the changes. Yeah,
I've seen all the changes, yes.
Or the YouTube back then. We had to go out and ask questions. Crazy.
When I got my license, we were allowed one photo on each listing. One photo, and it was crazy. And it was a big deal when we got 5 photos. And then we had CBS Home had a book that everyone published all of the listings that we had, and we knew we had to get our listings by the end of the month, so we'd make the book that would come out, the big magazine that was in all the supermarkets at Baker's.
Pick wisely, right? Five photos. Quick tip, I'm gonna throw this out there. Get inside the house within like 5 photos, you guys. You guys have 46 outside photos. Get in the house. Okay. Anyway, get inside. In the kitchen by 9. All right, Karen, production.
Yes.
You've sold like 1 billion houses. What's production look like the last few years?
I'm pretty consistent, close to 100 individually. About 90s, I usually do. I did 43 million last year by myself. My team did 51.
Fantastic.
So,
Right, let's talk about it. And that's, and for all of this, year over year we're doing this, right? Ashley, production?
Yep.
Numbers?
So my answer is a little bit more long-winded because my model looks different, and I'm going to get into this in my panel of the question. But when I was working with both buyers and sellers, I was doing about 40 deals a year, and now my business looks completely different. I work exclusively with sellers. So I transitioned that in 2022. And then in 2023, that was kind of the scary year for me. That's when I branched off and started, quote unquote, giving my buyers, I guess, to a buyer agent, if we will, and servicing them in that way. And we scaled to 76 that year. Now fast forward 2024, Katie Langenfeld, she's actually in the audience. She's my lead buyer agent. We did 110 units last year for our buyers and sellers, and we're gonna do 175 this year.
Love to hear it. Let's hear about the year for that. Ben?
Since 2020, I've averaged 93 units a year. Low year was 62, high year was last year at 119. By myself, I don't have a team. 29 million average. I sold, I wish I could say 43 million to Best Karen, but it was 42 million, like 917,000. Thanks, Karen.
Come on.
But you could tell your friends I sold 43 million if you want.
Let's hear it for him. Good job. All right, we're gonna start with you, Ben, on this. What feels most different about the market that we're in? And you could talk, like we said, put these last two together, adjustments you may have had to make over the past 6 months to the market we're in right now.
This may be a problem I caused for myself, is I've beat the drum for a long time that you should be thoughtful in the realtor you choose. Therefore, you should talk to several and not find a realtor by accident. Maybe it's my own fault, but it seems like the last handful of clients I could have had or I do have they all interviewed a bunch of realtors, and some said, we don't actually like you as much as we like somebody else. They didn't say that, I mean, but they didn't choose me, which I'm glad. I mean, consumers should get a really good realtor that they like. I'd like that to be me 100% of the time. And I've had stretches where people just say, we're just going to hire you. We found you online. That's the end of the story. And I've been competing more, which I think is best for consumers. So it's a good change for all of us.
Yeah, I feel like buyers and sellers are just becoming more educated, and they're wanting to educate themselves, even if that means talking to more people.
I don't know if ChatGPT they say something about real estate. ChatGPT says, great, find some realtors to talk to. And that's just becoming just more relevant information.
Yeah.
Like people would be like, you think I should interview realtors? And I said, yeah. And they're like, I never thought of that. I just like to click tour now. And I said, please don't. I'm glad, except not when they don't choose me.
Yeah, I love it. Ashley?
I would say I think it's more fun because there's a lot more negotiation happening right now in this market, but it's definitely more a skills-based market than it was a few years ago. I don't think there was any room to negotiate because it was just highest and best offer at the time. And so now it feels like we're in a very polarized market. The sellers their expectations are coming down a little bit, but 6 months ago they were really unrealistic. So you're working with the sellers that still have COVID expectations and high price points that you're having to set expectations with. And then you have your buyers who everything they see in the media, it's a complete buyer's market, all the things they're seeing. I'm going to come in 50, 60 under asking. So I think we're in like a very different polarized market. And so skill set matters. And that's what I'm seeing differently today.
I obviously get to spend so much time with Ashley, and I tell you, sometimes I hear negotiations, it's like I'm watching a good sales book, a movie, like they get really pumped up, and she's like, yeah, let's go, hangs up the phone. So she really loves this stuff, you guys, like truly loves this. Karen?
Okay, like my late father said, failure to prepare is preparing to fail. So
Write it down.
I live by that motto every single day. And so if you're not prepared, you don't do what you're supposed to do, that your clients will understand that and they will find someone that is prepared. So thoughtfully prepare is super important. As far as the market, I just think it's more of the same. I've been through so many different markets that to me, we're back to a seasonal market. If people like you and they trust you, they're gonna work with you. If you don't bond with them, you're not gonna work with you. And I have had the younger generation, the new buyers, they like to interview people. And so I've been going through some interview processes as well. And and one of the things that I try to do as I don't want to go to the office and sit and interview someone. That is not my strength. I say, pick out a house. I'll meet you at the house. That's our interview. And that makes a huge, huge, huge difference because then you can show them what your value is. You can't sit at a desk or on a Zoom call and show them your value. You're just going to sound like everyone else. But if you actually get them in the house, and from the moment they walk out of the car, you teach them what to look for from the moment they walk out of their car into the home, stop in every single room, touch every window, show them every piece of the house. They're going to walk and go, wow, every person I work with, I've learned so much today. If they're first-time home buyers, obviously. But I think that's a really important thing to do I won't interview in the office because I know I will not get it. So.
That must be my problem, a lot of offices. Thanks, Karen.
You're welcome. You can pay me a referral now. Thanks.
I love it. There's that last little bit to get to 43, right?
Yeah.
What was the quote you just said?
Failure to prepare is preparing to fail.
Skill sets. People, you're hearing it everywhere. I love it. All right, let's go to Ben. We're going to do our one-on-one with Ben, then Ashley, then Karen, okay? All right, so let's just read about him real quick, you guys. This is really cool stuff up here. Sold over 100 houses, 3 out of the last 5 years. Tell me I'm right?
Correct.
Thank you. Got it. This was what we found out. I think I broke this to you on the podcast the other day. Top 200 agents in the nation, you guys, in units sold in 2024. Let's hear it for that. That is incredible. Actually, number 198. So, number 2 agent nationally at Better Homes.
2 for units, 2 for volume, yeah.
Awesome. And 42, I had it right. $42 million production.
0.9, but
0.9. All right, cool. So I'm gonna be doing a little reading because we prepped this in a way that we can focus on what he's great at. So you sell over 100 houses a year as an individual agent, which is like you don't hear that often. But you're also very intentional with your time, your health, your family, and how you spend your time. How have you built a business that allows you to have high production and also have a great quality of life?
Yeah, there's two other stats you didn't mention, but I didn't tell you to. That speak to you should have a high quality of life other than selling tons of real estate. And I will often remind people I am not miserable. I actually have a wonderful life, and there's two stats that will prove it. I exercise 101 minutes every day last year on average, so I care about my health. And I left the state of Nebraska 47 times, which means take a vacation. In addition to that, I go to Husker games, and there's other things I do. It's not just 47 days off a year, but I know a lot of people don't take a vacation 47 days a year. So I'm selling plenty. It's a high quality of life, high production, and I'm not miserable, and those two stats will prove it.
The fact that you know that, impressive.
And if you think it's miserable to exercise 101 minutes a day, that's up to you. But I don't think that's not misery to me. That's fun for me. Okay, how do we make this all work? I got some principles I guess I should share. One, you said, how do you build this? You do build it, meaning it takes time. There's no overnight success. Early on in real estate, agents who got their license the same month as me started selling lots more houses than me, and I was quite envious of them. They have not built businesses. They just happen to have more transactions in the first 6 or 12 months. So they never really built it. They just got off to a better start. An agent called me right 2 years ago and said, you just posted the 15 listings coming for sale in the next 2 months. Just lay it on me. How can I get 15 listings in the next 2 months? And I said, well, you can't. Unless you have a time machine that starts 10 years ago.
There you go.
You could go back then, and then in 10 years from today, or start now, you could get 15 listings in the next 2 months.
Right.
But you don't get it today because you have to build it. It just takes a long time to do it. I've said this many times, you do the right things long enough, it can't not work. I know that's a double negative. I'm familiar with that. But they have to be the right things to do, and you have to do them long enough. Too many people do the wrong things for a long time, and it doesn't work. They give up. They do the right things. They don't do it long enough. They give up. So it's a simple equation, simpler than an assumption formula. Right things, right length of time. It will work. I can prove it. If you want to be more fit, you eat better and you work out more, you will be more fit. There's no inverse ratio there. You do both, you're going to be better. So begs the question, what are those right things you should be doing? And I think we're going to hit those. I realized this last year there was another realtor that had this huge break. He sold 90 houses in one fell swoop from one referral for this apartment complex, and he got a bunch of awards. It was a huge break for him, 90 in one fell swoop plus another 60 he generated the normal way. And I realized I've never had a big break, and I would say 90 listings is a huge break. I haven't had 3 listings from a single person. I haven't had an investor package. I've had no big breaks. But I realized I've had a lot of really, really small breaks, and I really think that's all you need. So you don't have to have someone with tons of money just pick you to sell their home. You don't need those things to build a business. You need a lot of small breaks. And a small break feels like my 4th client in 2014 was an acquaintance at the bank that referred his mother-in-law to buy a rental for $87,000. I helped him buy that rental. I became friends with the guy at the bank. I bet I've sold 150 homes, and that's maybe a conservative number from the relationships from this one acquaintance turned friend. So those are my small breaks, and I've had about 800 of them over my life, over my real estate career. So don't chase big breaks. You only need small breaks. All your clients are yours to keep and yours to lose. So here's what I mean by that. Once you have them and you serve them well, you can keep them, and they can go to work for you, or you can forget about them and they can forget about you. And I learned this lesson, thankfully, not by my own pain, but by somebody else's. And they say you learn better from pain, but when it's someone else's pain, it's the best way because they hurt and you don't, and you learn the lesson. So as a long-time agent in the office at CBS Home, and they probably 30 years in the business, and they were chatting, and they were remarking that she had driven by the old Smith's house, and you just wouldn't believe it. They had a for sale sign in their yard with so-and-so. And she said, I sold them that house 20 years ago. I cannot believe they wouldn't hire me again. And then you hear her describe the way she stayed in touch with them so wonderfully over 2 decades was a couple of Husker magnets. She said, I sent them Husker magnets a couple times. How could they not hire me? I said, well, it's because they forgot about you. And it wasn't their responsibility to remember you. It was yours to be remembered. So you can keep your clients or you can lose your clients. I just think you work so hard to earn them, service them. Why would you let them go and let another realtor pick them up? So when you keep your clients, they go to work for you. Last thing, you do this well, you treat people well, you keep treating them well, and then they'll do the prospecting work for you. I don't do a lot of prospecting, at least not in the ways that could be quantified calls, Door knocking, certainly never. I never want to do that. A lot of things I don't want to do. I don't want to sit in open houses unless it's very meaningful for a seller. I don't want that to be a way I generate business for myself. I don't want to prospect in those ways. What I want to do is stay in touch with people well after the sale, check in with them after a day like today. Just side note, it's going to be freezing cold the next 5 days. The worst temperatures we've had in all winter, you know. You could choose to contact all your past clients and tell them what precautions they should take in their home so things don't freeze in their pipes and open their cabinets. You could tell your new clients who just bought a home in the last 7 months the same. You could take that opportunity today to contact all of those people and provide value and care, or you could not do those things. I just chose to do the first option and do those things. And then they say, wow, Ben, can't believe it. We love you. Thanks for doing this. You've always cared about us. And then they're going to tell their friend at work in a few weeks, when they mention homes, you got to call Ben. You won't believe it. He just told me this. And that's one example of hundreds and hundreds, not hundreds, I meant to say dozens and dozens, sometimes hundreds of things I'm doing for my clients. And then I just get to live my life. And I drove to Oklahoma City last weekend. And in 1 day of travel, I looked at my email 5 times and I had 5 referrals. Someone said, hey, Ben, I just found you, or I got your name, or I found you online from nice things people said. We ought to buy a house. I didn't earn those. I didn't have to work for those going to Oklahoma City. I had to text people about bad weather. We'll get into the little nitty gritty things I do, but my clients are going to work for me, and then I just get to enjoy my life. So I'm prospecting simply by living a life that cares about others, and there's ways I demonstrate that. But then I don't have to time block and spend 3 hours every day doing things that are not meaningful to me. I just get to spend quality time with clients and keep doing that, and then they send me 119 people a year. So that's how it works. I could spend my time working with people, not chasing leads.
Great answer. Thorough. Tell your teacher. Educator.
Last thing, in case you think it's easy breezy, I do go to bed at 11 p.m. I do wake up at 4:05. So it does require lots of hours. So don't think like you could do this casually. I am putting in the work. I don't want to make you think this is some fantasy. 11 to 4, it's 5 hours and 5 minutes of sleep a night. So there you go.
Okay. It's phenomenal. Great answer.
It is a phenomenal night of sleep. Yes, you are correct. Thank you for nice.
Okay. All right. We're gonna get to database here in a second. Great answer. That was way more full than I thought. I didn't even need to do anything. Good job. All right. Systems and process. How could you possibly sell over 100 houses a year? You're saying you're doing all these things, right? Like you talked a little bit about how you're staying in touch with people, but when you're transacting business, right? You're showing houses. You think you had more buy sides than list sides last year, if I remember?
Yeah. 64 by 55 sell.
Well, you must only show houses when you're also working out. Is that part of the workout? What's happening here? How are you managing this many?
The saddest thing I've ever heard a realtor say, I should say one of the saddest things I've ever heard a realtor say is, you know what? Eventually the client's going to learn. And they say that after showing a dozen houses and writing a horrible offer. And then they do that 4 more times. So after, 60 houses and their 5th horrible offer, then they say, but you know what? I think my client finally is going to learn. They're going to start to trust me. I couldn't sell 119 homes if each person required 100 practice hours before they became a legitimate, sincere, reasonable buyer. I simply couldn't do all these things. But I could take 90 minutes and make them a sincere and reasonable buyer. Contrary to Karen's assessment, I can demonstrate some amount of competency sitting in my office with these people, but I'm going to rethink that maybe. But I just don't want to spend 100 hours practicing real estate when in 90 minutes or 60 minutes we can sit, talk, I can set great expectations, explain how this is going to work, and then leave my office, ideally committed to me and ready to be a real performing buyer. And then we look at 5 houses, we write 1 winning offer, sometimes it takes 2, and then I get to move them off the plate of active buyers to just past clients.
Yeah.
So I have to have a system for that. And I think the key is having the right questions you can ask to move a person from a maybe buyer to a real buyer. And I thought about selling to a real seller. And those are asking the right questions. And it's not really a script, or at least I don't want to call it that, but I always laugh when a person calls me to sell a house, but then they fumble through this clumsy description of what they think they need, maybe because they're thinking of selling their house. It goes like this. hey, I got your name and we might sell, and I think we need someone to come over, and I've never really done this, and someone, like, we might have some projects, and I don't know about, there's just some paint to do, and maybe we need to know what our home could be worth, and they're just real clumsy, and I laugh inside, because they only need to say to me their first name, and if they're a seller or a buyer. Once I know those two things, I know exactly the delicate dance of the questions to ask, the information to provide, to quickly and seamlessly set up a time to come to my office for a very, very boring buyer appointment, or I go to their house for a CMA. And it's just like clockwork. Question, 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 tidbit, great, here's what we'll do, and I set it up. So because I'm asking the right questions, I get down into the process so much more quickly, and then I can move them from a could-be buyer to a real buyer, or maybe I'll sell someday, I don't know what I'm trying to accomplish to, yes, let's get your home listed in the next 6 weeks.
That
There's
is
a system.
That is what skills are, right? That's scripting skills. You don't like to call it scripts, but that's sales.
I think it's a dirty word.
I know, but that's scripting sales.
Template's a little weak. I like to call it a process. Thank you. It's my process.
So that is sales process 101. Karen, you got something?
I thought I was analytical, not.
All right. So buyer says, "Hey, I want to go see these 10 houses. Can we get these scheduled?" What's the response?
Like that's the first phone call. Like they just say, "Hey,
You already met with them, but you know, like they're sending you. They keep seeing them
gotcha.
over. and over.
Okay. Learn this lesson the hard way in 2020 when there were lots of houses coming for sale. Millard split a tree. That was their desire. And so on Friday they said, quite simply, and here they are, meaning the 8 split entries in Millard listed in the last 2 days. And I thought, oh, some of those are quite ugly and you're not going to buy them, but okay, we're going to learn from this. We'll look at the 8. Surely they'll figure this out. Next Friday, and here are the 9 houses that were listed in the last 2 days. And I thought, oh, now I've done it to myself. It's very hard to say, yeah, we're not going to do it that way. Sorry, we're not spending all Friday night together. It's too late. If you don't set the expectations up front, it's very hard to do later. I've always said the best time to, or how do I put it? Advice given when there's nothing to gain and nothing to lose is just called information, and it's the best time to give it. So now I will actually retell that story, and I'll say, so if you're 8 Millard split entries, there's probably an 8th place one you really don't like, and a 7th, a 6th, 5th, 4th, and no one ever buys the 4th through 8th place house. Most people don't even buy the 3rd place house. There's 2 you think you could really like, so let's just look at those. All you have to do is say that. I mean, they trust you. You're the expert. You say so, here's how it works. The one you really don't like, let's not look at that one. Wouldn't that wear all of us out? I bet it would. You'd grow too tired. Let's not do that one. And let's get down to the 2 you're going to look at. So it's just, once you say it and it's truthful, you're being sincere. I'm making a joke about it, but they say, oh, this is how it works? Oh, I just thought we looked at everything. No, works just like this, and people fall in line. So the expectation setting is key. Thankfully, we're past this, but the home inspection is the best example. You should have been telling people 5 years ago, these homes sell with a dozen offers, and the result of that is you don't get a home inspection. So take a really good look when you're there, because you get 20 minutes, we're going to leave, we're going to write the offer, and then it's over. And that's just how it worked. I think some realtors didn't bring that up until you're competing against 12 offers, and then you tell your buyer the one thing their parent has told them a dozen times, do not buy a house without a home inspection, and your realtor, who you're supposed to trust, says, do not have a home inspection. You've ruined the entire relationship. But if there's nothing to gain or nothing to lose at your office when there's no house on the line and you describe this to them, they say, I don't really like it, and I say, I don't either. We'll work through it together. You've set the expectation when it doesn't hurt them in any way.
So when you guys are having those hard conversations, that is what you're going to need to get ahead of at your consult. So those are your learning moments. So if some other agent failed, or if you fail and have a hard conversation, add it to your buyer consult, your seller consult, so you can get ahead of that before it happens. Because if it happened once, it could happen again. What about the seller conversation? If somebody wants to list high, let's say, how are you kind of talking through that with them?
It's a data-driven approach, certainly. It's not my opinion, it's the evidence. We'll blame it on the appraiser and what they're going to look at the same way I am. But ultimately, the phrase I've started using is when I give my final analysis of what I believe their home will sell for. And I used to give a range because then you can be safe. But they're asking me for my real opinion, not a broad range that is meaningless to them. But I say the price in which I think a buyer will have a lot of enthusiasm for your house is blank. Because I think that's the target. Not the price someone might pay after it's been on the market for 2 months and then they rip you apart for repairs. How about a price in which a buyer has a lot of enthusiasm for your house? I just think they can cling to that is the best way for a buyer to feel about their house. And the price that they're enthusiastic about is probably a little lower than you would hope to get, but we want to get good quality buyers that mean to buy your house and not mess around. And they have to have a little enthusiasm for your house to do that. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the wording I've dialed into is enthusiasm.
Cool. Are you projecting, I think, as we get here coming into spring in the next 2-3 months, are you making any changes with buyers and sellers and what you're saying to them and setting expectations?
I think what will happen is we'll have more enthusiasm amongst buyers the next 4 months than we did the last 4. So therefore sellers can be a little optimistic, but can't go crazy, and buyers should be expecting to have some competition. So, and if you do enough real estate, that changes almost monthly, kind of the mood of buyers and sellers. And you better keep up on that, because you can't say, yeah, home inspections are kind of questionable when they're totally on the table, or vice versa.
Yeah.
So you got to keep up with some of those trends, or you're setting opposite expectations, and that's a real problem.
Yeah. Use cool words like enthusiastic.
It's not a bad
And then that makes people be like, oh, he knows. This is good. Pick that up, you guys. All right. So in an industry full of distractions, you do a really good job of kind of staying in your lane and not getting distracted by all the shiny things that we sometimes do. How do you approach staying discipline in this industry and staying into what you're great at?
I do see agents chase different ideas, and I'll try that, and a virtual assistant, and just different things that pop up. I think it's effective, so why would I change it? I want to do real estate that's the way that's most meaningful to me, and it might not be the most effective. If you want to door knock and sell 130 homes, you should, but I'm not going to copy that. I'm content. I think that's important. Doing it the way I'm doing with the results it produces. So I just have no need really to look elsewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just simple. I think I'm content with how it is working. I get sales calls all the time. Hey, you should buy this, buy that. And I say, hey, I'm really, really okay with how my business is. I'll let it be a better fit for one of my competitors. And they don't know what to say. And they say, no, you should let us do this for you. And I say, no, it's really okay. I'm really happy. Things are okay. And then they get kind of ugly. And then I say, I sold 119 homes, so I'm not making it up. I'm okay with how things are going. Please give this to one of my competitors. Thank you. So
Good.
I'm just happy with how things are going.
Yeah. Cool. I want to touch base on database a little bit. We're going to go a little bit behind here, but we'll catch up again at some point. How do you educate and add value to your database in an authentic way? What are some different ways that you're doing that?
Yeah, there's a mix of you care about them, but it's also valuable. And I'll give you some distinct examples. A lot of agents do Popeyes. I think those are cute. I do those too. They demonstrate you care. But there was an agent who's not in the business anymore who would take a bag of rubber hands tied up in a Ziploc bag and with a note that said I'll give you a hand up in the business. And I'm like, that's trash. You're giving people trash with a cute note on it. You care, but that's not valuable to them.
I haven't heard that.
Yeah, well, don't do it. It's weird. And it's trash. Another agent's like, I'm just going to pound them with market stat newsletters exclusively. That shows you're competent, and that's valuable, but doesn't really show you care. So,
Yeah.
is there an appropriate mix to the activities you do that demonstrate both of those? So I do some Popeyes. I do lots of mailing, which sometimes is kind of replicates what I do on social media. So if you care, you should tell your clients that. You should send them a Thanksgiving card. If you care about their family, they should get a Christmas card. If you care about them, they should get a Valentine's Day card. But because it have a little value, your Valentine's card actually says, these are the contractors I absolutely love. Put a little heart on it. Now it looks like Valentine's Day.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you care about your clients. It's a great example. You care about your clients, and you're giving them some really good quality referrals.
Yeah.
Or I love my clients too much not to let them use really great contractors. That piece of mail sends a perfect message. I care about you, and here's something valuable. And so I think I've just come together with a pretty good mix of social media content and mail and Popeyes and videos that just do both of those things pretty well.
Yeah.
And so that's how I'm spending my time. If I'm not working on the business, I'm coming up with the next thing that I should do that demonstrates those two things together.
Does it change year by year?
I try to tweak them. Valentine's Day cards always go out, and there's a little tweak to that.
Yeah.
I get a new family photo for Christmas cards. That changes. But a couple of things, if you just want to put them in your pocket of contact points you could make to your clients starting today. This is if you really want to tell somebody you care, put these in your back pocket. Extremely cold weather day, which you could do it next week after this happens if you don't get on it, and say, man, this weather, it's so cold. The craziest things happen to homes when it's this crazy cold. Is your house okay? And you should text that to every single person who bought a house from last March until next week, because we haven't had this cold of weather for 10 months. Every single person should get, was your house okay? Most people are like, actually, it's weird. I got some frost in my window. What's that about? Their humidity's too high. You have that conversation. You're thankful for that. When it's really hot day, freaky things happen when it's really, really hot out. Are you okay? Beginning of the year, do you have any house projects that you want to work on this year? Happy New Year. I'd love to give you recommendations. You can just pepper them with not overbearing, but things that just say, hey, I'm still here for you in your life. It could be a text followed by social media so it gets widespread, followed by a piece of mail.
Yeah.
And that stuff I'm just banging that stuff out all of the time. So clients are just continually hearing from, hey, there's Ben. Not in an obnoxious way. He's just still there. He's still in real estate. He still cares. That's all they need to know.
Yep.
And they know it a lot.
And then you're doing those same similar things on social media. Is that kind of?
Yeah, it's a good way to spread the message a little more.
Cool. All right, guys, that was Ben's combo. Thank you so much for listening. It's lifestyle lead generation. Living your life and lead generation is happening, even if that's a dirty word for you.
No, lead generation's okay.
All right, works. That's acceptable. All right. What's up, Ash?
Take out all the words on my answers here. Scripts, Legion, no.
How you doing, Ash?
Doing good. You didn't put in a pee break for us, so had a few drinks up here. So
I didn't. That's not part of the script. Okay. Stick to the script. Okay. I don't know what to go with that.
doing great.
All right. So you operate inside of a highly specialized core model. What kind of built and what you're working on and what you lead. Rather than trying to do everything yourself, can you kind of walk through your model? What does that look like on a day-to-day basis? How does communication work for that? What is it? Tell us.
Okay, so I'm going to preface this conversation by saying I am not selling this model, that this is the right way or only way to do it. The way they operate their business, the way Ben does it, works for them, and this works for me. I built this model to work with the life that I want to live and how I operate. Will and I have a blended family with 3 kids under the age of 9, so we're very busy. I'm in production, running a brokerage, and running a team. So what I'm referencing in this conversation is about mine and Katie's production on my core model, because we service all of our clients as a shared database together. So our core model is really a production-based business based on systems and processes, really. And it's broken into the buy side and the list side. So my model is a little bit different because I work exclusively with sellers, and then we share our clients essentially in our database, and Katie works with all of the buyers. She's over here in the pink hat. Give her a round of applause too, because she did a great job last year. She also sold over 50 houses, so I don't do this alone. So our team is broken up with the 2 of us into listing side and buy side. And we now have expanded into new construction. We have Maya over here that's just recently joined us. So I focus on the sell side, Katie on the list side, and then Maya is under me on the listing side as well, now specializing in the new construction part of the model. And then we are able to service more clients that way because we focus on just our one specialized area of the business. And we've gotten really, really good at doing that one thing really well. If you think about a surgeon, for example, who does different surgeries, if he does one surgery 100 times and another 3 times, which one's he going to be good at? The one he practices over and over and over again. I go on listing appointments over 100 to 150 a year. Katie does 150 buyer appointments at least a year. And like I said, we're going to try and sell 150 houses between the 2 of us, 75 each. And we're able to do that by creating a really structured process of exactly what we do with every client. And that is also not done at random, and nothing is hidden. Our clients know that from the second they come into our life cycle of a lead, if you will, into our pipeline. Whether that's somebody from my sphere, Katie's sphere, a lead, whatever that may be, they are introduced to our model from the very beginning of how we operate, that I specialize on this side, Katie does this, and this is why it benefits you. And so there's no surprises. And I think a big misconception about this model, I'm probably ruffling a little feathers is because it's different. There's not a lot of agents that operate this way. And I think there's a misconception that it's, your clients only want to work with you. And I think that's true to a certain extent. And I thought that for a really long time, and this has been working well for me. It really required me to take ego out of it, if you will, and realize it's not all about me. And they do want to work with me, and they love my personality, but what people actually want is they want an outcome. They want a system, they want a process, they want to know what to expect, they want execution, and they want an outcome. And so if you're able to articulate your value and how you deliver that outcome to them, they're going to want to still work with you. my business has evolved so much from when I first started 10 years ago. And so those repeat clients now, I was really nervous when I had to start telling them I don't work with buyers anymore. I was worried I was going to lose a lot of my business when I transitioned this way. And I don't think I have lost one single client since doing it. So this is just a model that I've developed for myself, but I also think it helps the people on my team because it creates a growth path for all of us to do more together because it compounds. As Katie starts to bring more into our world, I start to bring more into our world, and Maya does, we hand those clients off essentially to each other. And as we get better and better at the one thing we do really well, it continues to compound. And we've started to see that from going from 38 units to 76 to 110. And now, like I said, our goal is 175 next year with 2 people and now adding our 3rd. So that's why I operate the way that I do. And then our goal is to really continue to grow this funnel so that we can create a growth path for other agents that join into it. So we're going to now be hiring a showing partner that just joined us, and she's going to be supporting Katie, and that person will now have a growth path into an agent role where they can learn from experienced agents that are actually in the business every single day doing it. So that's kind of how our model is, how it works for us, and how we serve our clients. And then, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, kind of a reflection for you guys that I wrote down was, one thing to think about in your own business is how you want to operate and how you want your life to look. And does the current structure that you're operating in support the life that you're wanting? Ben does 100+ units a year, but like he said, it's a lifestyle and how he lives. He could be running and jogging and talking to a client, and he's considering that work. And there's nothing wrong with him doing 100 deals a year and having an admin assistant instead of a buyer agent. It works for him, and how Karen operates works for her. So I would just challenge you to kind of think about all of the different models and versions that you hear and how you want your business to operate. And it doesn't have to look the same as how everyone else does it.
Great. I messed up, by the way. I'm sorry. We're going to take a quick pause. We're going to rewind. This is Ashton Servany, co-owner and team leader of Toast Real Estate. I realized I didn't read this off. I'm sorry. Led the core model to 121 closed units and personal production of 22 million in volume in 2025. Let's hear it for her real quick. Woo!
Thank you.
Now we're going to fast forward back to where we were and act like that didn't happen. Okay. I think just watching from the outside, it takes a tremendous amount of trust and communication between you guys as a team, right? So if you're referring somebody to Katie and then they're working with her now, do you still know what's happening? What's communication look like there so that you're not just losing communication with your clients?
Yes. So we both know what's happening because we have a shared group text message. If we have a shared buyer client, for example, we're going on that buy sell listing appointment together. So let's say it's a client of mine. We've done probably 4 in the last week or so. We go to their house on a listing appointment, but Katie's with me. So we're explaining the model, how we operate, how it works, what my part is, what her part is, and what both of our to-dos are going to be when we walk away from that appointment. And then we are starting a group text. We have one on the listing side, and we label it by their address, and then we label it by their last name, like home buying. And I'm on that. I'm part of the communications. So I'm aware of everything that's happening on the back end. She is, if she's referring a seller to me, so that client has that consistent communication throughout the process, and stays kind of in our ecosystem, if you will, no matter what.
Love it. Awesome. Well, it's cool to see, and definitely different than all 3 of us operate in a different way. I want to go to database a little bit, talk through you're a very system process person, so I know that about you. So I've watched this build over the years, but what does every database touch point to your people look like? Why do you do it? Can you kind of walk us through that?
Yes, so I think we only have about 5 minutes for question, right? But Asia's going to hand out, I did print these off, so you guys had them just kind of as a reference if you wanted to model after it and create it for your own business, and then a blank template on the back she's going to hand out. But the biggest thing I want to talk about database was that, in my opinion, it really should be your biggest lead funnel. Your sphere of influence, the people, your past clients that you talk to every day should be your biggest lead funnel. The more that you pour into it, like Ben said, the more that you're going to get in return from it. So the more that you, I always want to say touch your people, the more that
It's touch.
the more that you, the more that you talk to your people and interact with your database, the more that you're going to get out of it. It's a relationship-based industry, so you need to nurture it, and it's going to give back to you over time through referrals. So I printed this out. You guys all have it in front of you. I am going to run through what I do. Now, this is a little intense because it's been progressing over the years. So it did not start at this level. It started much, much less than it. But essentially what you're looking at is our touch point plan that we do on our core model, and then our shared services, which is our team that we support with these services as well. And so we break it down into personal outreach. So 4 times a year, the goal is to at least text or talk to every single person in your sphere of influence or your database at least once a year. The math's different for everybody, but in general, you want to convert your database at about 10%. So if you have 400 people in your database, you could easily be doing 40 pieces of business every single year if you're touching and talking to those people enough. I only have 380 people in my database, and I do about 52 listings a year. So mine is coming from other sources, but I really nurture my database. So a huge chunk of those listings are coming directly from this. So 4 times a year, personal outreach, do it in an intentional way. Just like Ben said, you're not just saying, hey, do you want to buy a house? You're adding value. You're providing contractors. Hey, do you remember to turn your sprinkler systems on this year? Whatever you can do to keep them in your world to stay top of mind. From a digital marketing aspect, and my team and operations does this, by the way, this is not all me. So Nicole does this for myself and the team. She creates a weekly email that goes out to our clients, and she personalizes it, and then each agent goes out and puts their final touch on it before it is sent out. But I send that out once a week to my database. It probably is a little bit overkill. You could probably get away with once a month or every 2 weeks. But I feel like there's just so much information that I'm trying to sprinkle different things. So I'm giving market updates, local events, what's happening, contractor recommendations, things of value. You're not just blasting them with data, right? So we're touching them at least once a week via digital aspect. And then I'm sure most of you guys in this room are familiar with HomeBot or some type of home valuation report. So all of our people are put on that as well. So they're receiving that monthly. And then we do monthly mailers as well. We call that the monthly move. So that goes out to our database every single month, and that just has different information on it. What's the same thing? It's very in alignment with your digital marketing, your email marketing, and we're repurposing content because you don't want to have to spend all of your time creating content, but you can repurpose the same stuff from social media, use it in an email to campaign to your clients, and then turn around and use that in your monthly mailer or whatever you're sending out. Use one piece of content 3 different ways and talk to them in 3 different ways, because not everybody's going to open the email. Some are going to open the mail. And then face-to-face events, we try and do 3 events every single year. We do a March Madness event, a Summer Bash event, and then Christmas pictures with Santa. And then we do giveaways throughout the year. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I know I only have 5 minutes, but I did print out for you guys if you wanted to kind of develop and create your own. This is what ours looks like, a week by week checklist of like the touch points that we do. And then on the back, I just provided you guys with a blank one. If you haven't already gone and created a touch point plan for your database for this year, I highly encourage you to. We're probably a little bit behind the gates on it, but I think it's going to make a massive impact in your business.
Yeah, awesome, great answer. You just did this, year 1, you're like, let's just do 85 touches.
I think it started with 20.
Okay.
Started with once a month email, and then, maybe a pop buy or 2, and started really, really slow. And then over time that has grown just with, you get better and better at anything you do consistently. This is working, this isn't working. You start hiring people. I can't take credit for all of this. I don't do 90% of this. I do the stuff that I personalize, but Nicole and our operations and marketing team does all of this and puts it together and executes on it. But at the end of the day, it's our voice when we're speaking to our clients.
And then, what are the 4 most important things you do when you reach out to them?
The 4 most important things?
Communication points. So you're calling them, right? Like
calling them.
When you're calling them, what are you just saying? Like, are you buying a house this year? Buy.
No. Well, it kind of depends on the time of the year and seasonality, but usually I'm first trying to ask what's going on in their life and what changes they have. Usually at some point in that conversation, a vacation, a new baby, a major life change, something is happening, and that kind of sparks that real estate conversation. But I have kind of a plan of intentionality, what I'm talking to them about before I call them.
Cool. How have seller conversations, let's go into like this market and what we're experiencing right now. How have those conversations changed for you?
How have they changed? They have changed probably longer conversations about setting expectations at the listing table, I would say. And probably just having a lot harder conversations if their house is sitting on the market, if we're coming into price reduction conversations, days on market, those type of things. So my conversations are becoming much more of a partnership and a team and educational about here's exactly what's happening in the market. Here's what it means for you and your house. Here's what likely is going to happen when we go to market. And then if X, Y, or Z happens, here's how we're going to reposition and adjust, and setting those expectations before we go live. A few years ago, I feel like you could just throw your house on the market and everyone knew it was going to sell within 48 hours. You didn't really have to do much, and every seller was happy with every single agent because we were all selling houses. And now that's just not the case. Now we have to be more skilled. We have to understand the data. We have to understand what the data means. We have to understand when a new listing comes on the market while yours is active and it looks better than yours and they priced it 10 grand lower, what does that mean for your seller, and what control and options do we have? So I would say the biggest thing is becoming a leader and a guide for your sellers and giving them the tools and information to make a good decision without pushing them to make that decision.
Yeah. So seller, this isn't part of this, so we're going off track here. The seller calls you, they're like, you're not marketing enough. I don't know if I want to stay with you as my agent, so we want to move on. Or you're just like, give me another week. What's this conversation sound like?
Well, usually when somebody has a complaint or an issue, there's usually an underlying fear or something beneath that. So I would ask a question in return to that. I wouldn't probably jump to defend myself. I would first come from a place of understanding and ask them, like, tell me more about what's going on, what caused this conversation, because there's usually 90 different reasons that are going to come out in that conversation, and it has nothing to actually do with your marketing. It has to do with their fear, or maybe you're not communicating to them, or maybe it's been sitting for 3 weeks and they're not getting showing feedback from you, whatever that is.
Yep.
So I'm going to come from a place of understanding, really hear them on what is their concern, and then work through that objection.
Cool. How about negotiations? How's that changed?
They're more fun. So I think picking up the phone and talking to agents, we're back to doing that. I think you should always be doing that personally. I think if you're a buyer agent, you should always be picking up the phone and talking to the listing agent, and vice versa. If you're a listing agent, talk to the buyer agent. I think we are seeing more ego in negotiations than we used to see. I think we are seeing
From clients or agents?
both.
Roughly.
Yeah, I mean, we're essentially on a team as agents, right? When you're working with your co-op agent, we both want to get to the finish line. We both want to close on the deal, and we both want our buyers and sellers to feel like they're getting a win out of the negotiation, and nobody wants to walk away feeling like they lost. So I think I'm coming more of a place as like a team effort with agents now in negotiations. Like, I spent 30 minutes on the phone with an agent the other day trying to figure out how we can get a deal together. Like, here's where my sellers are at. Here's where your buyers are at. We're so far off on these terms, but you need a quick close. They can accommodate this. And we're getting creative. Like, what can we both walk away with and come back to those buyers and sellers and present something that might be a win for both parties? And we did get that deal together. I would also say we're starting to see a lot more closing costs being asked for from buyers in negotiations, under asking offers we're seeing for sure. So a lot more emotions are playing out from the sellers and having to do a lot more emotional regulation, I guess you would say, in negotiation. So that's kind of what I'm seeing right now.
Cool. Is it possible for us to shut that door?
That's so right.
Other side. Thank you, Jeremy. Appreciate it. It's just good. It's good. Okay. How scripting preparation, like how are you approaching practicing skill sets in order to navigate all the changes?
I practice it with agents instead of practicing on my clients because
What?
you get all different kinds of objections all the time. So it's always nice when you hear it and you've been able to kind of practice through that and explain your answer to an agent first and the client, because the market is shifting month by month, as Ben said when he was talking. And so when you get asked the same question of now and in summer, your answer might sound very, very different. So being able to talk through when a client asks you, what's the market like right now? My answer is going to be very different in January than it was 2 years ago or 6 months ago. And so practicing how are you articulating your value to clients, working with other agents and scripting on that, I think is important, because I don't think we should be practicing on our clients.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So as you've grown as a leader, right, and your model has started to evolve, how has setting expectation, trusting your team, stepping into more of a leadership role helped your business evolve?
Well, for me, I think the way my business has evolved is I've had to learn to trust other people and really start to delegate some of that work off of my plate and focus on setting better boundaries with clients, because I'm a people pleaser by nature and I like to say yes to everybody and do everything for everybody and overpromise things and say all the things. But I've realized I can't sell that many houses by doing that. Similar to what Ben said, if I am not setting boundaries for myself and protecting my time with my family, then I'm not gonna be able to do a great job. So what's evolved for me is I have started to really set clear expectations about how I operate my business, when I do listing appointments, when I'll communicate to them what to expect, so that I am not having to be available 24/7. Now, I am still available every single day to my clients. I am checking messages, but I do not have to answer within 30 seconds. We are not firefighters. There's not really emergencies in real estate that are that urgent most of the time. And so boundary setting has been important for me in my business. This year I really focused on trying not to work from like 5 to 9 p.m. almost every single night, which is a challenge in this industry. And I'm usually doing all my catch up from like 9 to 11 after the kids are in bed. And that just kind of works for me and how I operate. And I've also set the expectation of myself that I'm not going to do listing appointments after 5 and on weekends unless absolutely necessary. And I went on over 120 listing appointments last week, and I think, or last year, and 4 of them were nights and weekends. So I think what I've learned is if you just set that expectation, they will follow suit. Similar to what Ben said with buyers. This is how I operate. Here's when I can meet. Here's some times available. Can you make this work? And 99% of the time they make it work. We create that fear that they're not going to work with us if we're not available at 7 o'clock at night to go do a listing appointment.
Okay.
I got long-winded and don't remember the question. I'm sorry.
You did great. Phenomenal job. I know we're almost back on time. Let's hear it for Ashley, everybody. Great job. You did. You did awesome. Good job. Okay, Karen?
Yes.
Let's go to Karen's slide real quick. All right, you guys. Ooh, Karen Jennings, 1993 Wade Trophy winner. Just so you guys know who don't know what the Wade Trophy is, this is one of the highest honors in women's college basketball. If you don't know who Diana Taurasi is, Sue Bird, Cheryl Miller won this award, Caitlin Clark twice, Paige Buchers. These are the people that won this award, you guys. Karen won that award, 1985. UNL Hall of Famer, all-time leading scorer women's basketball, 2405 points scored. She averaged 25.3 points a game her junior year, 10 rebounds, also double-double. Let's hear it for that. Right. So, we're talking about consistent success, right? All right. Anyways, before we move on here, I got a real slide for you. I can geek out about basketball forever, but we just passed out our feedback forms. Right, fill those out before the end of this, and then we're going to draw for a $100 gift card at the end. So just, if you guys have liked this event, what can we change? What can we get better at? Just because we want to continue developing this event and making it more seamless for you guys, more valuable. Okay, Karen, over 24 years in real estate, so I feel like you've sold a couple houses. Team leader of the Jennings team. I just put this up there. I made this up. Probably like 150 production awards, if not more. Probably like, I don't know. There's probably a lot of them that we probably can't count. And $43 million in production last year. Let's hear it for Karen.
Thank you.
All right, so we're gonna talk about sustainable success versus short spurts first. You guys, to be an all-time leading scorer in college, right? Like, you're seeing evidence of success early, right? That's having scored that many points in a 4-year college career takes availability. You have to show up consistently and perform, right? And we're seeing that, and obviously in your real estate career. How do you think about the difference between sustainable success and just like short motivational spurts?
Yeah, so I mean, if you go, I'm just making it really simple. In basketball, I practiced 2 hours every day. I never missed. That was just what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be a college basketball player. I practiced 2 hours a day. Even when I was playing volleyball and even when I was throwing the discus or in track, I still came home and practiced 2 hours a day. So you just do it. I mean, that's, you know, cliche Nike term, but at the end of the day, I would say that I'm fairly systematic, not as systematic as these two are. I'm more intuitive. I more have a feel, kind of like when I played. I was more of a freelancer. My coach just said, just get her the ball and let her do what she wants to do. So that's kind
She'll
of
make it work.
You'll make it work. We had a coach back in college. She said we had a play. It's called Candy Red. That means get the ball to Karen, let her go. So I think that's maybe a little bit more how I approach real estate. I am very focused, but I don't have an exact schedule every single day. I usually do, 2 hours of prep work, 2 hours in phone calls, and about 4 hours in activities of real estate every day. And then the other 2 hours a day I usually do, I don't work out 100 minutes a day, but some days I do 3 hours of tennis, and some days I do an hour of walking, and some days I need to rest. So because of all that running around, and I actually played professional basketball after Nebraska, so sometimes my knees and my hips go, the weather is not working with me anymore. I need to take a day off. So, and I think that's what I've learned over the years, because I've got 20 years on both of these two, is that I need to rest. And as I've gotten older, I had a couple of years when I was at CBS Home where I did over 300 transactions a year. So I had some big years at CBS Home. I did get a break because I was the lot lady for Deer Creek. And that was my big break that I did get, which Joe Valenti at CBS Home told me, "You're going to take that? What are you thinking?" I'm like, "It's opportunity. No one else will take it. I'll take it. Why not?" And I ended up selling like 200 and some lots in Deer Creek. So I think that is, as far as sustainable success, I think it's a basketball cliche, but run your offense. You know what your offense is, run it every day. And you know what? Your offense is going to be different from person to person, but run. That's all I have to say.
Love it. If you guys can't tell, she's competitive. I think you're in, like you said, 4 tennis leagues or something like that.
Yeah. So my adult sport is tennis. And so I play on an 18 and over team, a 40 and over team, and a 55 and over team. So, my husband is the assistant coach in tennis for high school girls and boys. And so I run the winter conditioning program, which means I'm hitting with young girls. I don't do the boys, I just do the girls. But it's a blast. It's such a blast.
Yeah, when these agents in the room make you mad, go hit some tennis balls.
Oh, you got to have an outlet because
Get the aggression out.
some days you just feel like you're going to pound your head on the table, and you need. I'm like, okay, I'm going for a walk now. It's time to like think through what I'm going to say. Because it is. I treat my clients like my family, and I do feel like, if I'm getting emotional, I need to just go do something else for a while and then think through how we're gonna, get through the problem solve this a little bit. Because I do not like to lose the transaction. I like to win.
Yep, I love it. All right, so we talked a little bit, like on the podcast, talked about consistency a little bit. What are the skills and activities you practiced repetitively over all these years that have helped you find success this long?
I am very consistent with my marketing in my sphere. I have about 700 in my sphere, and I'm very consistent. And I have my top 40. And my top 40 are people that have bought and sold more than 5 houses from me. And those people get extra special treatment from me. And and I show up at their house. And we do special things. And then I have small groups that I get together of some of my clients too.
Yeah.
And so we have I sponsor a game at Creighton, and I'll invite my people that like basketball. I'll do something different for different things. I'll do coffees for different things. So it's just a real specialized. Again, I have always done my magnets. I do volleyball, basketball, and football magnets. And then I always do my pumpkin breads. Those are kind of my mother makes, 150 loaves of pumpkin bread a year for me. And then I deliver them, and this recipe is really good. And I have lenders and title people that when it starts to get October, like, when's the pumpkin bread coming? So, and I do the same thing. I've done that for so long, I can't even tell you. And then I do Christmas cards just like Ben, and I change my family picture every year. But sometimes I have to check on to make sure I'm not wearing the same thing the next year.
you talked about like you'll be in a neighborhood, you'll just call people, right?
I
So like
do call people all
you're
the time.
seeing something similar, right? Like lifestyle lead generation. I'm making my business part of my life and how I find success in this, right?
Oh gosh, yes. I mean, I coached basketball and volleyball, and most of those families, I just give them all sorts of stuff, and they became clients. And yeah, I work. I feel like I'm working. My husband always says, when you go to the gym, how many houses are you going to sell? Because I like to talk to everyone. So I'm definitely more into it, more intuitive, more do business as I go. I enjoy it. I really do feel like I have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And my dad was a basketball coach. And my dad was probably my most influential person for me because he was also in sales. He sold in printed sportswear and farmed and was a basketball junkie. But he would call me when I played, be at every home game in Nebraska, because we didn't have cell phones back then. Keep that in mind. But he'd call me at my dorm at 3:30 because he knew we had pregame at 4. But he knew I always came to my dorm at 3:30, and he would say the same thing over and over and over again. He said, "Karen, be quick but don't hurry."
John Wooden.
Absolutely, John Wooden. Be quick but don't hurry. Number 2, adjust to the officiating. Dumb players foul. Number 3, take command of the game. And number 4, have fun. I was like, okay, Dad. And he said the same thing over and over and over again. So essentially, to keep it simple, be quick but don't hurry in real estate. Don't hesitate. Go do what you're supposed to do, but don't hurry the process. Number 2, adjust to the officiating, adjust to the market. You know what the market is, adjust to it. Sometimes it's fast, sometimes it's slow, sometimes you get time to do everything, sometimes you don't, but you gotta adjust. Number 3 is you gotta take command of the transaction. Take command of your client, take command of the transaction, take sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do. And number 4 is have fun when you're doing it. People like to be around people that are having fun.
Right.
Joke around, have fun, enjoy your time with people, just make that relationship fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty simple.
I love it. You said adjust to the market. What kind of adjustments are you seeing right now that people in this room should be taking?
Well, I do believe that we're almost an even market. I feel like that. But they're in the first-time home buyer market, it's always going to be fast. And the good ones go quickly, so you have to go that day. And if I can't go, then one of my teammates can help show them houses. Okay? So we just have to make sure we get there that day in that market, and we can't hesitate. He who hesitates is lost, right? So try to encourage them to get to the offer sooner than later. That's part of the pre-coaching that you work through when you're talking through when you first meet them. Is like, hey, they need to know that this is a competitive market. The under 300 market is super competitive. You got to go. It's transitioning into the 3 to 5 market. It's fairly competitive. If it's a great listing and it's priced really well, you got to move fast. If it's not priced well, take your time. Go back another time. Figure out, call your lenders, make sure what you can really afford. And then as we go into the 5 to 7 market, we have lots of time because there's a lot of houses on the market. We have plenty of time, and we're going to really negotiate the snot out of that house if we can, right? We're going to try to get anything and everything and all the goodies from the builders and whatever we can do, right?
Yep.
And then in the upper edge of the market, which is I think the 750 plus, it depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for an acreage that backs to a preserve and you want a fantastic house, it's gonna go quickly. If you're looking for something that is, you want a fixer upper and you want $1 million house that has wallpaper and green carpet and the whole kitchen needs to be gutted, then we have to really be careful that we don't overinvest and we be that person. So it really depends on what price range you're in, on how the market is. Because I feel like we have four markets going on right now.
Yeah, and you should feel this on a day-to-day basis, right?
I do. And you gotta keep track of your numbers. Because I think they always like, oh, we have 900 something agents, 900 something listings on the market right now. Well, okay, but you gotta segregate where those are, because if you really are looking for a $250,000 house for your first time home buyer, there's not that many houses in Millard or West Side that you wanna see. I think, then you have to, that's a really small market.
Yeah. are you explaining to people who have a smaller target, like, hey, how are you getting a bigger criteria or a bigger filter with your buyers if they're looking for something specific?
You know, if they say, oh, I really want to have a west side for 250, you know, that's a tough call. You know, it's a real tough call. So I said, okay, so why don't we do this? Well, I put them on a collaboration right away. We'll get them set up on the collaboration. And then I'll say, okay, well, why don't we go to west side, Ralston, Millard's, you know, a little bit of Millard East, and, you know, sprinkle in a little bit of the Burke. You know, I try to like circle that whole area.
Yep.
Because they're really picking that area. Maybe they're picking on schools, maybe they work in that area, they want to be in that area. We don't know, it depends on what they're looking for. But let's just try to hit all the areas around it and see if one of those areas might work.
Yeah. I mean, in the first half of your career more, how did mentorship, coaching, training, educating yourself, how did that play a role in your success early?
Oh, I think it's incredibly important. I mean, obviously, my parents are huge mentors, and so I had a lot of home support, and I was very thankful for that. But also all my coaches, but then all my brokers I had, my brokers at CBS Home where I first started, they really took me under their wing. They helped me a lot. They were just really interactive, and now I'm as I'm older and more experienced, I think, you just have to, I rely on other agents that I trust.
Yeah.
I'm in a mastermind at Berkshire that is positive, and those people that are in our mastermind are kind of like our little group, and we call each other and get help with those type of, whoever we need assistance
Yeah.
with. So I think it's more of collaborations as you get a little bit more mature in your business. It's just, we just rely on each other.
When we talk about agent to agent, how are you kind of approaching communication with other agents and like tougher negotiations? And how important is transparency and this constant communication with them?
Yeah, I learned this a long time ago that probably our most important client is the other agent. If you have a positive experience with them and you know and trust them, I think it goes so far. And I just think being kind with their time. And when someone says, hey, I'm really, really busy, do you mind if we extend a couple more hours on your offer? Absolutely. Do what you need to do, work with them, reach out, help them. If the house is an hour away and you're going there for your final walkthrough, call them and ask them if you can take their sign and lockbox home for them. It's an hour drive. I mean, just being super kind to them, and just being patient with others. It's just, I think as I've grown as an agent over time, I just really trying my best to develop a good relationship with every agent I work with. And, I'm more patient with everyone. I think when I was a young agent, I was very impatient, trying to get stuff done. I was selfish sometimes, I could feel myself kind of burning a little bit too much, because I was doing 300 transactions and I felt myself being kind of short. And now that I'm older and I'm very particular about my time. I try to get 8 hours of sleep. I cannot do 5 hours. I would be a grump if I had 5 hours of sleep. But I do turn it off at 11, but I get up at 6 and have my own time for an hour, which is my dog on my lap and my cup of coffee. So, and then Coco and I usually hit the track at about 7:30. We walk for about 45 minutes to an hour. And then I put my earpiece, and sometimes people call through, but sometimes we're singing Fleetwood Mac as we walk.
There we
too.
go. There we go. I like it. You use a term quite often with me and on the podcast, quiet consistency.
Mhm.
How has that kind of shaped the way you work and your identity in the industry?
Yeah, I think I just stay with it.
Mhm.
I mean, I think I just have to stick with it because you're going to have some slower months, you're going to have some faster months. You're going to win some and you're going to lose some, and you can't take it personally. You just have to keep moving forward, and because slow and steady does win the race, and that sustainable success is what you really should be striving for instead of the hustle-driven transactions.
Yeah.
Do you want to be that transactional agent, or do you want to be that forever agent? We like to say, a lot of programs use that forever agent, and I have clients I've sold 10 houses to their family, between them and their parents and their kids, and a lot of us sitting out here, I know, have been in business a long time. I recognize several, and they have done the same thing. And I think that's part of the sustainable success, is building that really strong fundamental relationship with those people. And I know Ben's doing it really, really well. Ashley's doing it. But that is really what this business is about. This is not a transactional business. This is a relationship business, and however you can build that relationship is great.
Last question here before we go to our kind of closing question. Give us kind of your insight going in. We're a couple months from spring market. What are you seeing for 2026 as people come and ask you, like, how's the market going to be this year?
I think people already have a very positive outlook on the market in 2026. I can see it. I can hear it. I do love open houses. I'm different from Ben that way. I absolutely love meeting people and talking to people. And I also think it's really, really great for your seller, because the seller, I come back after the open house and say, this is what the people were saying about the house. Hey, it's a great time for me to have, and if I need to make adjustments. A lot of times I sell the house, and maybe it's not my client that bought the house, but someone else's client. But then I get a call from their agent saying, hey, we're bringing you an offer. And the agent hasn't even seen the house. So it's been, I actually enjoy it. So I don't really consider it work. I take my things I do. I can pick a book to read. I usually just sit and call clients and follow up with people while I'm sitting in the open house. So it's enjoyable for me, but I don't really look at open houses as work. So I have a different mindset about it, I guess.
Love it. Karen, thanks. We had a little tennis match going between Karen and Ben there. Put Ashley in the middle because she can soften the two. They're completely opposites here. All right, we're going to start picking up the feedback forms real quick for the drawing, but I'm going to ask one more question. Then I'm going to draw for that $100. And then we're going to open this to Q&A to the crowd, and then we'll network for an hour, I guess, is what that's called. Okay? Ben, hey again. Been a minute. One more question here. In a market where skills matter more than ever, what's one skill you think agents need to take more seriously? One thing.
Maintaining your relevance in your clients' lives or future clients' lives. Someone said, if you didn't, the agents that didn't adopt the internet, failed out.
Yeah.
Some are saying, well, AI is going to be even bigger and better, more destructive, than the internet. So I hope that's not the case, but things are going to change, but I think what isn't going to change is you staying relevant in the lives of your clients in ways that are meaningful. At least in Omaha. I'm not moving to the coast, or maybe other things matter and tech is more important, but I think here, thankfully, it suits my skill set. People want to know you're still good at what you do, they can trust you, care about them.
Yeah.
Don't get replaced by anything other than make those the most important building blocks in your business.
Yeah, I think the most important one you said was you care about them. Right? One more thing. Obviously, you need to know what you're doing, but show that. Ash?
I agree. Just to say something different, I talked a little bit about agent etiquette. I think that is very, very important, especially as we talked about how having a great relationship with a co-op agent is important to get to the finish line. But just a couple of things. Give feedback if they ask for feedback. If you're going to not show up for the listing, for the appointment on the listing, let them know so they can notify their sellers. I see this all the time. I don't know if it's just not communicated or trained anymore, but I'll just get no responses from people. So I think agent etiquette is very, very important. Communicating, removing your shoes when you're doing showings, and communicating to the listing agents if you're not going to show up for appointments. And texting back, because you never know when you're going to do a deal with that agent and when you're going to see them again and when you're going to be in a transaction with them. So I think agent etiquette and professionalism is really, really important, and we need to raise the bar for that in this industry.
Yeah.
So that's what I focused on.
Great. Karen?
I just think anticipation throughout the transaction, being able to anticipate when there's going to be an issue. But that starts with listening to your client and knowing the situation, whether it's their lending and there could be potential problem, you need to make sure that you get that handled so that you have zero issues. If you know you're selling a house in District 66, you know you're gonna probably should be doing that was built in the 60s, you probably should do a sewer scope, right? That's helping your client have zero problems in the future. And I think just knowing, having that, it's okay to speak up and say, no, you really should do this. And anticipating that, and so it's good.
And when you run into things, remember it, right? Like these things could happen again, so start to make it part of your process. It's important.
Yep.
Cool. You guys, what a great answers on all these. Let's give them a round of applause. Okay, cool. Couple things real quick. You guys still hear me? First of all, clap for me. I'm on time. Okay, we're gonna add one slide real quick first before we drop this $100. Our next event is gonna be right back here, April 16th. We'll announce the panelists. We're gonna be talking about how to win with buyers in the spring market. Okay, so that's gonna be April 16th. We'll reveal those panelists as we get a little bit closer, but mark it in your calendar. Be here. This is gonna be another great conversation. We're gonna continue seeing this get better and better, which is why you guys filled out the feedback forms. So we're gonna randomly draw this. You guys got like some sort of shuffling method going here, so they know we're not cheating. Do we have a gift card or do we have cash? Bucks.
I have a gift card. Jordan has to make a quick announcement, really quick.
Oh, we have an announcement.
It's not,
Jordan?
it's not an exciting one.
Oh.
You have the microphone. Hi everyone, my name is Jordan.
Hey,
The
Jordan.
owner of the black Mazda. Want to see me at the host stand really quick? License plate number is YWW569. Owner of the black Mazda. You already own the black Mazda.
It'd be a little awkward if you stand up, so wait till I'm drawing and then stand up and get on here, okay? All right, this is my
I've been
shuffle.
shuffling it for a minute. So they're-
All right,
no-
hopefully they're here, right? And the winner is Jen Neal. She's the, hey, there you go. All right, so I am gonna open this up to questions. Obviously, just be respectful to the crowd. We'll answer a few. Karen's got showing at 5:30, so we're gonna get her out of here no matter what at 5:05 or 5:10. Ben's got to leave by some point before 5:30, but we're gonna ask a couple questions. I'm gonna end this between 5 and 5:05, and then you guys are free and welcome to stay in here. A networking hour after this. Talk about what you learned. I think Ashley and I will be here for sure. Anybody else wants to stay and have a drink or get appetizers, we'll be here. Okay. Any questions? Go ahead.
Ashley, what is on your marketing calendar? I love this. Thank you so much for getting it out. What's D2DK?
Oh,
Or D2?
probably should have explained that, huh? It's a Keller Williams thing. Yeah, you can ask.
Okay.
So I think this is a Keller Williams thing. I don't know if they invented it or whatever, but that is just how we organize our database so we know who to call when. So the DTD2, what does that stand for?
Do the database. Version 2.
Yeah.
So,
So you'll notice on this one right here, it has it broken down by week of who to call. So you'll see on week 1, January, for example, DTD2 A and W. That's all of your database with the last names A and W.
Okay, so this is calls.
Call or text. I mean, you're touching them essentially 4 times a year if you follow that schedule.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
can I go through quarterly what those are?
Go for it.
So there's 26 letters, 13 weeks in the quarter, right? So break it up into 2 letters per quarter. Quarter 1, you're just gonna call them and ask. You're gonna say, hey, here's what to expect from me this year. We're gonna be doing events. We're gonna be doing mailers, emails. Here's what to expect from me. Is there anything you need from me? And then they're gonna be like, no, you're doing great. Everything's wonderful. And say, hey, Ben, probably don't remember that Will sells houses every day when you wake up. So is it okay when I call to just check and see if you know anybody looking to buy or sell real estate this year when I do call? Would that be okay?
That'd be fine.
Okay, so he's okay with it. So when spring comes around, you get to ask, Ben, who do you know? That's the one time throughout the entire year you're going to ask if they know of anybody looking at buying or selling real estate, just in the spring when the market's hot. And then Q3, you're going to say, hey, who do you know that I should know? And that's how you grow your database. That'll tell you what your database thinks of you. Who do you know that I should know? Connect me with them. In quarter 4, what's your big plans for next year? Because around big plans are generally moves and different things that happen, okay? So it's light. You don't have to always ask, who do you know looking to buy or selling real estate? Maybe just once.
And this wasn't intended to try and sell anything, but we have it for free on that QR code. We have our script book that has those exact scripts per quarter for kind of a guide or a framework, since you hate the word scripts, Ben, on kind of the intentionality behind those conversations and what to focus on each quarter.
Thank you, Sean.
You said you exclusively work with sellers, and so can you explain, like, did you pick your buyer's agent? And then the conversation, and then, I don't care, my question. And then how do you retain your clients? Because you tell them, oh, I only work with sellers. That's not really funny. But like, and you pass them off to her, like, do they come back to you? Or like, do she ever get listings ever, and she can do her own listings, or they gotta go to you? How does that go? Sorry,
There's a lot of questions. Okay. No, that's okay. So, what was the very first question? I remember the last three.
How do you pick her?
Yeah, I pick her.
Why do you pick out Katie?
Oh, Katie. Well, Katie was actually on our team first on our shared services model, which is essentially most of our agents at this table that work with both buyers and sellers that plug into our systems that we've created for the core model. We kind of test everything there and then roll it out to our team from there, and then our independent agents at the brokerage. But to answer your question, we picked her out because she was in our world, in our sphere, and she was doing the things and doing the activities every day, and we thought that she would be a really, really good fit for it. She had a lot of sales background experience in the industry in the insurance industry for about 10 years, but not actual real estate experience. But we saw a lot of potential, and clearly that has been the case for her, because she went full time in 2024. It was her last year was her first full year full time. And she helped about 54 buyers. And I mean, she's got probably 75 in the pipeline ready to go for this year. And as far as retention, it's all about setting the expectation of how the model works and how I operate with my clients. Yes, they do come back to me. Most of my clients now are repeat customers, so they're both buyers and sellers. And so it's just explaining how we operate. And the most important thing is that communication piece that I talked about, of that I'm staying part of that communication, the transaction and part of it. I'm not just handing them off to Katie and I never speak to them again. They're listing their house with me as well. So I know exactly what's going on that buy side transaction throughout the process, and I'm communicating to make sure everything is timed appropriately. And so they're in our ecosystem now, they're in our database. And how we do it is we label them. If I bring them into the business, I'm agent 1, she's agent 2, and vice versa. She's agent 1, I'm agent 2 if she brings in that piece of business. So we share the clients ultimately, but they're still categorized, in case somebody ever leaves the team or anything like that. But I have yet to have a client not reuse me, even with the model that I've been operating under, because I think what I found is their experience was still great, right? Katie's great at what she does because we have a system, a process, exactly what to do every step of the way that's been developed, and she follows that system and she set those expectations. And so it kind of goes back to the results. I think if they have a good experience, they have a good result, and they have a great outcome from that experience. As much as we like to say that people matter and that we're the best agent in the world and they only want to work with us, I found personally that that's not the case, that they will work with an extension of you if you're delivering the same product and outcome for them or experience. Did that answer all your questions?
Anthony?
Question for Ben. It's obvious that you're very intentional with everything that you do. I just was curious why 101 minutes of working out in 5 hours and 5 minutes.
Well, it's hard to go to bed before 11 because I don't know when normal people empty their dishwashers, but sometimes mine needs to be emptied at 10:35. So life just exists until 11, and then I have to stop. And I want to get to work out by 5 a.m., so I got to get up at 4:05. My Apple Watch is a little liberal. It told me 101 average minutes a day. You go too fast with the groceries, it gives you like 2-3 minutes. So, but each year can quantify that. So at least I'm using the same metric. In 2024, it was 39 days of out-of-state vacation, 104 sales, 99 minutes of exercise. So I'm either walking faster with my groceries, or I'm actually doing more minutes of exercise. It's about 70 real minutes of exercise a day. So, I mean, it's important to me. I will make that a priority no matter what, because I like to exercise. Yeah, and I do hobbies, house projects, teach Bible class, church stuff. Real estate's wonderful. It all fits in your life. Actually, of all the things I do, I still blow way too much time watching Netflix. I mean, I could be so much more productive than I really am. So there's time for it all.
Ethan?
I find all you guys inspirational. Thank you for doing this thing. I was a CBS owner for going into my 20th year here, and I still think about Karen all the time. always offer advice as a young, when I was starting out in the business, because I was under Mary Sears. We really got one of the best starts ever.
We did.
And as you told me, I asked you early on, how, you know, what's one thing you could tell me in real estate? You said you got to list the last. And I don't know if you borrowed that from somebody else or if that's something that you came up with, but I always think of that. Does that still feel like that's true?
Absolutely. So my brother is the one that told me that, because when I first got in the business, he's like, okay, start with some buyers first. Just start with the buyers. He said, but remember, if you don't list, you don't last. So I am about 65% listings and 35% buyers. So, and I usually get help on the buy side with, you know, like today I'm doing this, then Sam's showing one of our first time home buyers. But I do enjoy showing houses, but I really like, my passion is listing. And a long time ago, Ralph Marasco, I'm gonna quote this from him because he told me, he goes, you know, it's always best to be the firstborn, the second wife, and the third realtor. So, I love coming in as, I'm sorry if you don't understand that, but anyway.
Looking good for me over here as well.
So anyway, but I love coming in and being the second or, and then of course the third realtor is amazing, right? Because they're ready to listen, they're ready to do whatever you tell them to do. You tell them to take the wallpaper up, you bet. Who should you send us whoever you want to take off the wallpaper? So anyway, it's good to do that. But yes, listings, because listings breed buyers, and they always do, and they always breed sign calls. And so, like, you know, I just had one last weekend, and I got a call from, they're like, hey, we're first time home buyers, but we really like your listing. Can we show up? Absolutely. Show up, show them, you know, they wrote the offer. Now I'm getting their listing. That's what a listing will do for you. You gotta list. If you don't list, you don't last.
Yeah. Okay. Jeremy.
Thank you. You guys are amazing. This is beneficial for me too from the funding side. Got that respect for all of you. Karen, you intimidated the hell out of me with respect to you guys. I've been in the business almost the same amount of time. Very grateful for you.
Thank you.
From a buyer's perspective, are you seeing, I guess, from buyers making the biggest mistakes you're seeing, how are you overcoming that? And what are you seeing them making as far as mistakes in the market?
The biggest mistake that I see buyers make is they go after the quartz counters, granite counter, whatever. They go after the new, you know, a few of the sparkly items and forget about the stuff that's most important. And it's hard. I always tell guys, we gotta look for the grandma and grandpa house. They fix the roof, the furnace, and the windows, and the siding. You know, you gotta look at the bones. Like, that's the big deal. And because I can help you get those other things to make it look shiny. So, and I'm literally, when I'm during my listing appointments, they need painted, I call my painter immediately. My painter answers my phone on the first ring. I'm like, hey Mark, hey guys, I'm sitting here with my sellers. When do you think you can come and do the walkthrough to take a look if they want to get their house painted? Well, can they do tomorrow? Yep. I mean, I'm literally setting up every single appointment in the house during my listing appointment. Okay, they're gonna work with me because I already got all these contractors coming to their house tomorrow.
No choice.
They don't have choice.
There's no choice.
Yeah.
This goes into my next question. Vendors and relationships.
Oh my gosh, they're part of my team. Those guys are my team. Like all of my vendors, like they know my garage code, okay? They're really, really important. Like my plumber, 402-980-0200. My painter, 402-871-3780. My electrician, I can like name I can just go into all their numbers, like throw it all right here. Because I've used them so often. But they know when I call, they gotta answer the phone. Because if they don't, I'm not gonna be happy. So they know, so they always do. They always answer it. Okay, hey Karen, you know, my handyman's John Smith. I got 3 handymen, okay? Because I have to have 3 handymen because I need things done kind of quickly, and some of them get kind of busy, and the better they get, the more busy they become. So I've run through a lot of handyman over the years, but but they know, because here's the first question they ask. Do you need it done yesterday? Yep. So then we get them scheduled and they try to get it done quickly because they know that I'm waiting on them to list the house. They understand that. And I'll say, hey, this is a buyer. We have plenty of time to do this. We can do this, but you do have to have, that's that be quick, but don't hurry. But you got to get stuff lined up. You got to have you got to know, there's two things you got to know. You got to know your numbers and you got to know how to problem solve. Okay, that's the biggest thing. And because my mother, I will tell you, I've always worked from home. Okay, Joe Valenti at CBS Home was like, Karen, the best agents work in the office. And I said, I'm sorry, but I'm going to work at home. I have a baby. I had a baby at home. I got to work at home. I already am gone enough. I don't want to be gone all day long when I'm doing paperwork. I want to be with her. And so my mom would come into the home. My mom watched her. So it was, it's always been my mom makes pumpkin bread. She watched my daughter. I have a very supportive family, thankfully. But you do need that. I mean, this job does require some from either your husband or your family or your assistant or whatever. It does take some extra help.
My question was for Ben, as an independent agent, what tools are the biggest for you to be able to execute that kind of volume? With TC, do you have a TC, do you have admin?
I have an assistant who works not quite full-time hours, about 30 hours a week. So she does transaction stuff and the marketing stuff. I created, she mails it out. So she's doing both. No, I bet there are 6 showings a year I don't participate in.
And then you just get another person from your brokerage?
Yeah, 6 times a year maybe. I mean, the relationship is built when you're together. For tool, just from practicality standpoint, I have my Remarkable. Everything I ever write down at least is in one spot. It's hard to be efficient when someone asks you a question and the answer is written on a piece of paper in a folder, not where you're at. If I'm on the treadmill or wherever, I can pull up something I should know that they know I should know that they saw me write down, and I can answer their question intelligently because it's always accessible versus saying, I'll get to it, knowing that piece of paper I won't see for 9 hours. So this has been real helpful just to keep everything together because then I can just do it and move on instead of remembering a 3-second task that I can't do for 9 hours from now. Like that you forget about it and then they're disappointed. So it's called a Remarkable. I mean, you can make notes in your iPad too. It's a digital tablet. Just to keep everything in one spot has been pretty instrumental.
For Ben, how do you handle with having family? Like if someone says, I can only look at homes between, 6 and 8 p.m. and it's gotta be, certain times, like how do you handle that?
Sure. I mean, we have a 2-year-old and my wife, and they're all very accommodating. The number of times I'm outside of my own home after 6 p.m. is almost never. And I think that is just graduating in the industry, and my clients have too, where they can just tell their boss, I've got to leave at 3:30, and they're in a position in their life where they're allowed to do that. Early on, when it was all internet leads who all worked until 5:30, I was out of my house from 5:30 to 9 exclusively because that's when everyone I knew needed my help. And so I just think it's nice when you grow with people in your life that have better jobs and more control. And COVID shifted when people get to be home and not so. I just think you get better at having better people that don't need you only at 9 p.m. I mean, there's no secret to that. It's them making it easier on me.
Yeah.
I might just add your question on the assistant. So I've had an assistant for 20 years, actually 22. She's been my same assistant for 20 years. Her name is Kay. She's my listing coordinator. So she does all the flyers, she puts all the pictures in, she does all the Zillow showcase, she does all that stuff. And then both of my agents have been with me for 15 plus years. So I get some help that. I also have a social media coordinator. So like one Monday a month we do, creative content with social media. And that is really hard for me because I'm old school and I don't like to listen to myself talk or be on videos and anything like that. But she's like, okay, we're in basketball season. We're going to get a picture of you dunking this year. It's not posted yet, but we're going to do some stuff for that. But I think that was really hard for me because, when we started, we had books and I advertised in 5 magazines and 3 newspapers and then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, we have to do all this social media stuff. And it was really hard for me to do that, but, and she has a calendar like this too, my social media coordinator does. So that's, it's nice because she has a schedule of when she posts everything and how we do it. So that's helpful too. So I think being smart enough to hire people that, to do things that you're not good at is also wise.
Love it. Any last final questions? Anything worthwhile?
Yeah, I wanna know how we get on the pumpkin bread.
Oh, there it is.
I'll
Thanks,
bring
Kim.
you some, Kim. That's okay.
Okay, guys, if you want to hear the 3 podcasts that we filmed with these, 3 were phenomenal, so go check them out. 2 of them are out. Karen's coming out in 2 weeks. QR codes are on the table or on the screen. If you guys want to stick around for an hour, hang out, please do. Would love to chat with you. Thank you guys for letting me lead this panel. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you in April. Okay.